most of us were wearing some sort of khakis or pleated pants. I don't know what people wear, or Dockers or whatever, but
I don't know much about fashion, but I'm pretty sure pleated pants are going the way of the dinosaur there, buddy.
Welcome, everybody, to the R&R Catcast, a fan-based podcast focusing on Montana State athletics. We're two dudes named Brian from the state of Washington talking about our dear Montana State. We hope you enjoy. Welcome back, Bobcat fans. Cats pound the ground to a victory in Greeley and now look to punch their playoff ticket against Cal Davis. Thorny, how are you doing?
You're getting so good at your intros. I love it.
I know, man. It's just a one-take wonder lately. It's been great.
Hey, before we start, I just want to say, like, we're recording this on Veterans Day, so I just wanted to give a shout-out to all the veterans out there. We appreciate it.
Thanks for all your hard work and service. We appreciate it. All right, Thorny. On this episode tonight, we are going to lead in with our beer. We're going to talk some news. We're going to look at where the Cats went into the polls. And we're going to talk about the UNC game and preview the big matchup coming up this weekend against Cal Davis. We'll pepper in some Golden Koozie questions, and we'll end with some buy or sell.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
All right, man. What's on tap tonight?
Well, same thing as last week. No lie. Wrecking Ball Imperial Stout from Spokane, Washington.
Big man.
If you didn't listen last week, yeah, it's an Imperial Stout, 9.5% alcohol, 100 IBUs.
Dang.
There's your recap of the beer I'm drinking. It's the very last beer I have in my entire house. I almost had to switch to whiskey.
I wonder how many of our listeners would be in favor of that.
I don't know. Like, there's no real rule that we have to drink beer. It's just kind of what we do. But I've had a few things on and off, I think. Have you ever had anything besides beer and that one time you drank tea?
I had a LaCroix one time that was pretty
LaCroix and some tea.
Yeah. No, man, I'm not a liquor drinker, so I enjoy the beer, but I don't really like liquor all that much. So, but that could be a poll question we could put on the Twitter account. Should we veer from the beer?
We'll put that out there after this episode. Maybe next week we'll be drinking something else.
All right, Thorny. Tonight I'm drinking what's called the Interurban India Pale Ale from Fremont Brewing over in Seattle there. It came over to my house via some friends. We had a soup cook-off on Saturday night for the Coup game, and it was left over in my fridge, and so I brought it down, and it's pretty good. I really like Fremont beers, and it doesn't disappoint. I've had this Interurban IPA, but it's been a couple years, so it's a new taste for me. Again, I really like it.
Well, hold on now. A soup cook-off indicates there's a competition for soup. Is that true?
Well, I might have been embellishing a little bit. There's two soups, both by my wife. So,
well, which one was the better one?
I was going to say her chili-based one. That was pretty good. She also had like a chicken and rice. That was tasty, but the chili-based one was a little bit better.
I love soup season. Sidebar, we won't go too far off the rails here, but I love soup season.
What's your go-to? Are you the soup maker, your wife, or what's your story on that real quick?
First of all, I cook everything. And second of all, chili. Not really a soup, but chili, baked potato, cheesy broccoli soup. Oh man, I just love potato soup, corn chowder. I love it.
Yeah, I told Liv that she should make me some cheese and broccoli soup here soon. That's one of my favorites. Are you an Instapotter kind of guy, or are you like a more old time?
Nope, I use the Instapot.
Yeah, I figure you would be.
Well, I'll send her a good recipe for cheddar broccoli soup.
Okay.
This is exciting football talk. Is anyone still listening? Sorry about that. We'll get into some stuff here.
All right. Thorny, let's talk about where the Cats went in the FCS stats top 25 this week.
We're up to number 10 from number 12. Back in the top 10. Not sure I feel that we're a top 10 team just yet, but, it's good to be back in the top 10.
It feels like we have the same conversation every single week about, hey, are the Cats a top 10 team? I'm tired of it. They're a top 10 team. End of story.
Well, it's technically true. But yeah, no, I I would actually tend to agree with that. I'm leaning more and more that way just the last few weeks.
A couple people have been saying we don't really know who the Cats are, and it's going to take up until this weekend in order to us to really find out. There might be a little bit of truth in that, but we've been in this top 10, 15 spot on the stats. You know what? I'm just going to call it as it is. Montana State's a top 10 team. That I feel good with that.
Especially during Big Man Month.
Big Man Month.
Nice. All right. Well, before we get into recapping the UC Davis game, we should probably mention what the basketball teams are up to. This is the very few times during the recording of this podcast where basketball overlaps football. So there's no press conference from Jeff Choate today, so we might as well recap a little bit of basketball action. The Bobcats lost to Utah State. Did you get a chance to watch that game? The number 17 ranked Utah State, somewhere in that range?
I did not get to watch it because I was doing the Tubbs and Club podcast at the moment. And so I was sitting here watching the box score on ESPN while trying to pay attention to those guys talking as at the same time. They did not know, but yeah, I was only able to keep up with it via ESPN.
I finally found a stream like partway through the second half. I was trying to find one earlier. I was like, oh, there must not be one, but it was just right there on the Mountain West Conference's website. But yeah, the Cats look pretty good, man. Harold Frey, I'm so excited to see what he can do for a senior season with a pretty like athletic group around him, and Danny Sprinkle leading the way. I'm just stoked. That was a really good start to the year, and they followed up with a nice win at home against, was it Rocky? I'm not, whatever NAIA team they played, but I'm pretty excited for the team. That's a good start for the year.
You did send me the link, so I was able to catch up a little bit on the game. It looks like the Cats are playing some defense this year.
Yeah, they got definitely some good defenders. I don't even know everyone's name yet, so this is really, we're not a football or basketball podcast, but they're definitely some upgrade in defensive hustle and play and just focus on that side of the ball, it looks like to me.
Yeah, they were hustling.
And on the women's side, they had a good opening win at home against UC Davis. Let's hope that trend continues. I think UC Davis was the reigning Big West champion, so that was a pretty good victory at home, 77-65. And they just walloped Carroll today in front of like student day or something like that. There was like 6,000 like kids in attendance. I watched the video. They're all doing Baby Shark. Pretty comical.
So Eastern has that same kind of day, and our school gets to go to it, and it's fun. It's fun. It's mostly fun. But then when they do the floss cam, it's like a living hell.
Why? You
have like 8,000 kids flossing and some adults as well. And you're just like, make it stop. It's just bad. I just remember it from last year, just feeling like really like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. I just got to get out of here. But you can't, you're in charge of the kids there. So, but yeah, one of the clip I saw from Montana State was the floss cam. And I was just like, it just brought back these bad memories.
That's only because you can't floss.
Well, that might be true.
Might be true. You've never even attempted, have you?
Oh, no, I've tried, but I'm just really not that good at it. So, and my wife just laughs at me, and I'm just like, what am I doing? It just feels stupid anyway. So I don't really, whatever.
Everything about this feels wrong.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
All right, Thorny, let's get into the UNC game. Give us some stats.
All right. Well, the stats were pretty lopsided in every single phase of the game. Bobcats had 26 first downs. The Bears only mustered 12. Surprisingly, maybe not surprisingly, well, surprisingly given the score, the Bobcats were only 1 of 9 on third down. That just trend continues of terrible third down play by the Bobcats, but we're still holding the team is doing pretty well against third downs. Bears were only 5 of 16. The Bobcats had 564 yards of total offense, including 451 on the ground, which is the third most in school history, while allowing the Bears just 44 yards on 21 attempts and allowing just 245 passing yards for Jacob Knipp and company. I think a lot of that kind of came there, kind of a garbage time. Each team had a turnover. Tukarovic had the pick 6 that was batted, and I think it was JoJo Henderson came up with a tipped interception himself. and the Bobcats dominated the time of possession 33 minutes and 16 seconds to 26 minutes. I mean, really, there's not a whole lot to say about the statistics in this game. The Bobcats just dominated from start to finish. I guess that's the one statistic that I do want to talk about. Was this a complete game for the Bobcats? We scored in every single quarter. We didn't let up. We kept it going in the second half, and we just kept building the lead. That's what you want to see.
Yeah, it felt like the most complete game we've had in a while. So, yeah, in the short answer, I would say yes, that is the most complete game we've had.
I agree with that, too. Like, it was, what was the score at halftime? I had it right up, and I went off of it. It was 24-7. So, the game kind of wasn't really in question at any point, but with the troubles we've had every now and again, the second half, not putting a full game together, there was always the chance that Northern Colorado could make a comeback. A couple bounces go their way, but we really came out and just poured it on and never left any doubt.
Yeah, the only time that was really in question was when we had that series of plays where Tucker Rovig punts a 2-yard punt. What was that? And then ends up throwing a pick six all within, a couple plays of each other. And so, but you know what? We just came back. We didn't flinch, and we just, dominated that game. And it was really cool to see us take the energy and just roll with it in Greeley, because that was one of my biggest questions is how are we going to respond to this seemingly high school-esque stadium atmosphere? And I was pretty pleased to see the Cats just keep it rolling. And it feels like I said last week, we have some positive momentum.
Yep, that's the first time I've really felt we played a good 4 quarters of football and pretty solid in all phases. We still have, like you said, like one series a game, and I don't mean like one like offensive series. I mean just one ridiculous chain of goofy events that just backfires in our face. Like you were just talking about the 2-yard punt, then we hold them with 3 and out, and then we throw a pick six like on the very next one. I think there was even a hold on the return by the Bobcats, and Coy Steele muffed the kick return, right?
Yeah, it's just weird.
It was just like that. Shit happens to us for some reason. Like just one mini snowball, but we're able to isolate it and move on from it at least. But it's just one frustrating thing I've noticed this season. It just seems to be something that happens every game.
I think that has to be a mentality thing. It's something that it's been, like you said, maybe a pattern or something that happens more often than not. And so if that's true, it just doesn't seem like it's like a bad luck kind of thing. It's something that's more mental.
Well, like Joe says, you are who you are at this point in the season. If that's who we are, that's who we are. Just got to deal with it and move on, overcome it.
Yeah. Well, I don't really agree with Choate when he says that, but it is something we have to overcome, and the Cats did. So kudos to them.
Speaking of one thing that's different, Tyrone Marshall, where did he come from?
Yeah, he's quietly becoming like my favorite new Bobcat. And he just seems like every time he touches the ball, he's springing for a good play, and just the energy he's bringing is just welcome.
Yeah, I haven't really heard anything about him very much in fall camp. Certainly nothing during the season. I don't know if he's been nursing an injury or something, but he just came out the Southern Utah game, kind of the first time we ever saw him on like that end around, the diving flip extended over the pylon touchdown, and he had another good game against Northern Colorado, slowly emerging as a guy who can make some plays for us. So it's good to have guys stepping up, especially in November.
So what do you think about all these new guys playing right now? Like more specifically, do you think we should be just going with our starters at this point? Or it seems to me that Choate and company have really put in some new guys, we've been doing this like running back by committee. Afonse's injury has really played into this, but we've seen, exactly like Tyrone Marshall. And then a couple weeks or like 2 weeks ago, we had Jaden Smith catch his first touchdown pass. And all of a sudden, Lance McCutcheon's back in the fold. And so it seems like we're just like new guys are stepping up late in the season, and we're not seeing just like these ingrained starters, take over games. It's like these new guys. What do you think about that?
Well, none of the guys you're talking about are really taking away position from a guy who is really lighting the world on fire. Running back position is kind of odd because Afonso is hurt. Jones is like just a rep thing where you can only go so much a game. So, I mean, of course, you're going to have to play, Lane Sumner and anyone else in that room at this point, basically. So we're going to have to be able to play those guys. I think a lot of it's just making sure guys stay healthy for the stretch and hopefully in the playoffs. And it would be nice to actually get some rhythm on the team for once, and keep rotating guys in all over the place just doesn't ever accomplish that.
So you're really not a big fan of this?
I don't really know where I land on it. I'm not a big fan. I'm not opposed to it. Kind of wait and see how it plays out. It's not something you see a lot of other teams do.
It's a good point. It feels disjointed on offense. It still does. Defense feels a little bit different where we've been just dominating, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, but our offensive play just hasn't felt rhythmic. It felt very predictable prior to or even until the UND game. And then the last two games, we've gone just the opposite of that. Some might call it gimmicky. I don't know. It's only 2 games, but it just don't feel like we have an identity as far as our offense goes. And so we're using all these guys in different positions, in different formations. Like you said, it just doesn't feel like it has a rhythm.
Nope, that just might be what we have to do. You have to just get creative sometimes to move the ball, to spark the team.
How do you feel Matt Miller's play calling was on this game?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I liked the game plan, attack the edges, gave Rovig some plays he could work with. We didn't need to use him a whole lot, though, because the running game was being so successful. So, I was satisfied enough with it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought he did a nice job. Just keep mixing it up. It was a continuation over from the Southern Utah game. I just keep wondering what we're going to do when we play this week. This is a big game coming up this week, and if he's going to get tight, if Choate's going to hold the reins in a little bit more, like I talked about last week, I'm not sure. Still a big question mark to me. So, Thorny, is there anything you want to talk about more on the UNC game?
The other thing we want to talk about, and this is a Golden Koozie question from Cowgirl Cat, and I had the exact same question, so kudos, Cowgirl Cat. What did you think of the fake punt by Callahan O'Reilly? She is wondering, and I assume it's a she from her username, should they have done it or saved it for a time that they really needed it, or is it just to get the play out there and it has a different look next time? What are your thoughts on that? What do you think about putting that out on film?
I don't have any problems putting it on film. Do you remember when it happened? I texted you, was like, why did we do that there? And your response was to step on their throats. And I like that response. It seemed like the game was in hand. It was going to be a 3-and-out if we hadn't converted that. I mean, Callahan O'Reilly just, blazed down the field. He's faster than I thought he would be. So kudos to him.
I thought it was Troy Anderson just from when I wasn't really paying attention, just a big bodied guy chugging down the field. I was like, is that Troy Anderson on the fake punt? Nope.
We're 2 games away from, we have 2 more games guaranteed essentially. So if we're not pulling it out now, then win. I mean, if we're going to save all the trick plays for the Cat-Grizz game, then we really don't have any confidence in who we are as an offensive unit. So I'm not too disappointed we put that out there, but I was a little bit when I saw it, the only pause it gave to me was like, hey, we were up pretty big on UNC. Why did we do it? It just felt like, I don't know. Like you said, step on their throat. I said, yeah, okay, I can get that, but it just felt a little weird to me.
Yeah, I mean, the timing, you could argue one way or the other that, but I have no problem putting it out there just so teams have to worry one more thing about the punt game. They've seen it on film, and I'm sure that Jeff Choate has other fake punts up his sleeve. So saving it for another time, you really need it. I think he's got something else he can save for another time, or maybe this is going to open up. It's kind of a chain of something else he's got building upon this and how defenses react to knowing that this is on film. So I'm okay with it. I think it's fine. And I'm excited to kind of see what else he's got up his sleeve.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That's like the precursor to maybe some other stuff. That's next level.
Sometimes Jeff Choate is playing chess.
That's a good point. All right, man. Anything else on UNC?
No, I mean, there's just not a lot to talk about. Just they were outmatched and we just smashed them in the face. I just liked coming out aggressive and punching them right in the face. We talked about a few episodes ago, needed to be the ones doing the punching, and we have been the last 2 games.
Yep. And now we're on to UC Davis.
UC Davis, the Aggies. Did you have a chance to listen to head coach Dan Hawkins' press conference today?
No, I didn't.
Oh, man, it was pretty funny the way he phrased he talked about the Bobcats, and we have a three-headed monster at quarterback. He said one of the quarterbacks is their wide receiver, another one is their linebacker, and then they bring in the tall guy to throw darts. It's just a funny way of just describing our offense. He's not wrong. It's not wrong.
We certainly have an interesting offense.
We do. It's extremely difficult to prepare for. It takes a lot more time to prepare for anyway. Who was it? I think it was, I don't remember, the head coach I listened to. I try to listen to other press conferences when I can, and talking about, maybe it was the Brandon Fisher, Southern Utah's defensive coordinator, how he's just saying, you got to prepare for two offenses.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's a lot of prep work on the defensive side.
Yeah, I mean, in this offense that we've been going with this last couple of weeks too, it's just been piling up the yards. We haven't seen Travis Johnson. I mean, he was a catalyst for our offense early on this season, and he's not been a factor. And I think we're just resting him. I think his foot's been giving him problems, and it's been leading to some other guys getting some touches.
No, it's an encouraging sign that we're still doing all this without some of our playmakers, and it looks like Troy's finally starting to get healthy. And can we take a minute to talk about how good Troy's looking on defense too? Holy cow.
No, absolutely. You're right.
He's finally coming along.
He is looking more healthy. And it's like some of the guys are just gelling right now in the latter parts of November. That's a good sign.
No, and I know that we started talking about UC Davis, but it's still worth talking about our defense. I want to talk about our defense real quick. How dominating they've been. What have they allowed? Only a handful of offensive touchdowns, the starters last 3 games.
Oh yeah, 1 or 2 touchdowns. It's been just absolutely mind blowing. How well they're
down.
Playing. Yeah, I mean Southern Utah and Northern Colorado. There is a little bit of caveat right there, but holy cow, they're playing aggressive, and that's the thing. I really want them to go into this UC Davis game. We really need to disrupt Meyer. I mean, they need to play to win the game and not be conservative. I think Jeff Choate talked about that 2 weeks ago, where he's like, when we got into the UND game, we played a little bit of, maybe Max Strop. He's like, no, let's just get after this guy. Let's go after Ketteringham. We need to go after Meyer just that same way and keep playing with that intensity.
Agreed. And speaking of intensity, I think UC Davis is going to have plenty to play for in this game. They're just 5-5 on the season, 3-3 in conference. Pretty disappointing season for them, coming off the heels of their quarterfinal push last year. I remember they had a really solid year last year, but their playoff hopes are technically alive because they have us, who currently ranked number 10, and they play Sac State to close out the season. So they could likely finish in the top 20 and be a bubble team. So they're going to have a lot to play for. It's going to be a tough game on their turf.
Man, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. Even with 7 wins, I just don't think they make the playoffs. So I think they're playing spoiler this weekend. And if that's motivation for them, that's motivation enough.
Well, I don't think that they think they're out of the playoffs. So either way, I think they're going to be playing hard, playing at home. Their last home game of the season, senior day, all that stuff. It's going to be a tough game. Yeah,
their losses are from Cal, which has one of the best defenses, if not in the Pac-12. They played North Dakota State to the closest game North Dakota State has had, an 11-point loss there, 27-16. They lost to UM the following week. UM really took them to the woodshed, a 45-20 loss. North Dakota, 3 weeks in a row, another loss, 38-36. I remember watching the tail end of that game. North Dakota hit a field goal at the very end, and Jake Meyer had about a minute 45, but couldn't do much with it. And then they just lost to Weber recently with a 36-20 loss. I mean, so all their losses come to these legit ranked schools, so they've been playing a tough schedule and have had some tough losses. When you look at their stats for team stats in the Big Sky, they're, a lot of their stats is right around the middle. So 6 to 7 to 5, depending on what category you're looking at. So they're hanging in there. They're not like they were last year, but they've kind of had some close games and, some tough losses.
In a lot of ways, I think they're a good parallel to kind of Northern Arizona. I mean, they're different in some way, in a lot of different ways, but, NAU has the number 1 passing offense in the country. UC Davis is the 6th. NAU likely or subsequently suffers at the run and just 104th rushing offense, and UC Davis is 91st. NAU's total defense is atrocious at 122nd, but, UC Davis is not too far off at 97th. And of course, the time of possession for both teams, NAU is 121st, UC Davis is 120th. So there's a lot of parallels between two teams that throw the ball a lot, throw the ball well, don't run the ball well, and don't have good defense. It just kind of goes to show you, with all the struggles we have at quarterback, we got two of the best passing quarterbacks in the entire country who aren't going to the playoffs in our conference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you talked about their defense, how they don't have maybe a stellar defense. Well, Nick Eaton, number 53, freshman's linebacker, just got player of the week, defensive player of the week in the Big Sky.
Oh, he's a stud. I had him down as a player to talk about too. Yeah, he's fourth on the team with 54 tackles, and he's leading Davis with 11.5 tackles for loss and 6.5 sacks. So he is a guy who's going to be all over the field for them.
How do you think our run game is going to play against UC Davis?
I don't know. I think that Matt Miller has shown that he is smart enough to game plan to know how well a team defends the run, but how they defend the run. Like we knew that Northern Colorado, the coaches knew that Northern Colorado had a decent run stop up the middle. We started attacking the edges. So I think he's going to find wherever their weak spot is defending the run, and he's going to attack it.
Okay, second part to that question, Thorny, is what do you think Tucker Rovig needs to do in order to win this game?
I mean, this is kind of the same thing that I think he's done that we've needed him to do all year. Just complete a few passes and even just have the threat to keep the defense completely from selling out on the run. So he's going to have to complete some passes. This is going to be much harder than Southern Utah or Northern Colorado. So he's going to have to make some throws. But I just think what I want to see out of him is just maintain his confidence level all game. He'll be fine. He's just got to just maintain his confidence level and just get out there and coming back after something goes wrong.
Yeah, Tucker Rovig seems to be a guy that plays with confidence when he has it. When he lacks confidence, that's when we see him having those troubles. One thing I want to give Tucker props on is, man, he seems like a tough kid. Like, he takes some shots and he always comes back. Doesn't seem like he hangs his head. I'm just always been impressed with when he's been taking the shots and, standing in the pocket tall and delivering the ball down the field. What I'm looking forward for Tucker this coming week is hit some throws that move the chains, and I want to see a couple deep balls completed by a couple, maybe just even two. One that maybe could go for a touchdown. I think that will keep the defense at least thinking about the pass. That's one thing that Tucker's really done well for us is he's really alleviated that stacked box for us. They have to watch the middle. They have to watch the deep ball. I think Tucker's been doing a good job for us lately.
I mean, that's just the thing is even his presence and his abilities to throw the ball downfield take pressure off the defense. If he doesn't complete them, just taking those shots is something that, because, the coach's opponents will see that and they'll realize, he can complete those passes. So you can't just leave guys on an island the entire time because he will be able to complete those passes. So I think that's a big part of it. And I think part of his ability to keep him confident is his offensive line need to continue to block well. They've done a lot better job of that the last 2 weeks. The North Dakota game, they just got after him and got after him hard, but they've done a much better job in pass protection, and that only allows him to scan the field because he can progress through some reads when he has the time to do it. So I think that's a big part of it too, is just keeping him off his back.
He seems to be taking some strides when we need him. I mean, we have the playoffs in front of us. We just need one right now. If we win at UC Davis this week, we're in the playoffs. If we win against the Grizz and UC Davis, well, we're going to be seeded. And how far can Tucker Rovig take us in the playoffs? That's a good question.
Another question that kind of builds off of that, a Golden Koozie question from BP Cats 20. Do you think Matt Miller can keep up the creative offensive play calling to score enough and keep up to beat UC Davis?
I think we need to keep it diversified. And we've been showing a lot of different wrinkles. We don't necessarily need to show new wrinkles. We just need to keep the same ones we've been showing and just, implement them. And so, when we think back to North Dakota, I honestly feel like that was our worst game of the season, where we just were so tight and so predictable, and it just nothing was going our way. We can't be predictable. We can't be tight. We have to play to win, and we have to take chances. We have to trust our players to go make plays when plays matter.
That's absolutely right. I mean, it's that time of year, big man month, man. You gotta play to win. And I think Choate really was able to see that and address it in a big way. I think that things were just kind of shrinking for us. And as we got more and more nervous that we'd screw up, we call more and safer plays. We'd make safer and safer reads. We do just safe things all over the field and that end up costing us a game. So we need to just get out there and play football. And we've been doing that so far. And I look forward to that continuing. And I do believe that Matt Miller could be a big part of that. And I think he can be creative enough to keep the offensive play calling. As BP Cat says, to keep up with Davis, I don't think Davis is going to score a ton of points against our defense. So I don't think we necessarily need to get into a shootout. I think probably if we score in the 20s in this game, we have a good chance of winning. Maybe 28, like a high 20s. I think should win us this football game.
I like the formula of having a more diversified offense early on in the game. And then once we have the game in hand, just taking their soul with our running game.
Yeah, that's a great plan. And that's a good point. Like they get out there, you can be more creative. And if it starts working, he starts scoring points, then you can hunker down into that soul sucking run the ball all over the field. And what are you going to do about it? That is a good point. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, we can't go into this game and try to just establish the pass through the run because we're a running team, and that's the defense against us. So we need to be able to pass the ball around the field to soften the run and use diversified run games like we did in UNC with the edges, fly sweeps on the boundary so we can soften up the middle. I think that's a big key to this game.
The Cats can be so diverse running the football because especially if Travis Johnson's back, we have the ability to run a couple big guys up the middle. Johnson's not small, and you got Troy back there, and even Logan Jones is good between the tackles. Then we have the ability to do some fly sweeps or the little flip pass thing, get to the edges. We have speed where we need it, especially with Willie Patterson back and the emergence of Tyrone Marshall. It's only going to add another speed element to our edge game. And if we're actually starting to have some of our quarterbacks pitch the ball, namely Troy Anderson, our Wildcat quarterbacks actually give the ball up, we can attack you so many different ways that it's just so hard to figure out how the Bobcats are going to run at you and where they're going to run the ball at.
Do you think we're going to see Travis Johnson this weekend?
I would have to imagine, man. I kind of see this as a first round playoff game, kind of a play-in game. Like we win this, we're in the playoffs. If we lose this, we're not out, but makes it that much harder. So I'd imagine if Travis Johnson is anywhere near healthy, he's going to at least give it a go.
Travis Johnson is like our closer. And what I mean by that is when he comes in the second half and then just has ball control and then a la Northern Arizona just runs it down your throat, or Cal Poly, he's our closer. But we can't start off with a heavy dose of Travis Johnson. We need to spread it out a little bit more.
It's a good time to ask our third Golden Koozie question. Thanks for all the Golden Koozie questions this time. You guys asked us a lot of good questions. Allcat wants to know, why doesn't Travis Johnson ever throw the ball, and do you think he will before the year is over?
Well, it's been documented that he's not a prolific thrower. He's just a really good athlete. I don't think he's going to. I think there are some plays that he looks to. I just think Travis Johnson just wants to not give up the ball. Honestly, he's kind of like Troy Anderson in that matter. So no, I don't think he's going to throw the ball.
It's a good mentality to have. Like, ballers want the ball when it matters, like they don't want to give it up. And that's just a detriment throughout the course of the game. But when the game's on the line, like, the winners want the ball. And that's Troy Anderson, Travis Johnson. They just want to make the play themselves, and they have the ability to do that. But to answer the question, I think we have a better chance of seeing Kevin Cassis throw another pass before we see Travis Johnson actually throw the ball downfield, not excluding the little flip pass that might be a 3-inch pass that turns into like a 50-yard gain. I don't think he's going to throw the ball past the line of scrimmage.
Man, we are lucky to have guys like Travis Johnson. And what a cool story. A guy that comes just from so many recruiting stories, and he just comes to Montana State, doesn't have a positive start, but just really buys in, sticks it out, and just becomes this key contributor, team leader. I just really have a lot of respect for that guy.
Me too. He's turned one of my favorite Bobcat players in the last 5-10 years. He's just fun to watch. His attitude's infectious. You can just tell he's having fun out there, and it just seems like he's grateful to be playing football again. Like he just didn't have a chance for a long time. He kept getting passed up, and finally got a chance with the Bobcats. Maybe not quarterback that he wanted, but he stuck it out, and now he's a key contributor and hopefully what is a playoff caliber football team in his senior year.
Absolutely. I just hope his foot just keeps getting better.
Well, he's got to stop kicking so much butt, and maybe his foot will heal.
That's a good one. All right, Thorny. Hey, man, is there any other thoughts on going into this game?
This is going to be one of the toughest tests we have, I think, defensively controlling the run, because their passing game is so prolific that it opens up the running game for Alonzo Gilliam, who is one of the best running backs in the Big Sky Conference. He hasn't had the year maybe he hoped he would, but that kind of goes back to the whole team struggles. But he's a very capable running back, and I think he's coming off like a 250-yard rushing game last week against Portland State. He's recently found some success. UC Davis may have gotten kind of their offensive groove back here, so it's going to be a huge test defending Gilliam.
Yeah, I saw that when I was looking up some of their players, and it was just like, whoa, he's just coming off his best game. You know, it's him, it's Jake Meyer, another senior quarterback that the Bobcats are facing. We face them all. I mean, and then the next week we'll have Dalton Sneed, you know. It's just, we're getting everybody's best players, and you know what? It's good. It's going to be a good test for the Bobcats. I'm really looking forward to this game. It's really going to show me who the Cats are, I think. And it's just weird to say that because it's like, 10 games, 11 games into the season, and it takes this long. It feels like we had like the first half, right, where we were doing pretty good. And we had SEMO win, we had the Northern Arizona win, and it just felt good. And then we hit Sac State, homecoming, and it just went from this lull. October just felt horrible for the Montana State Bobcats. And then we played two dominating games in the month of November or late October as well, albeit against some weaker competition. And now we're playing a team that was previously highly ranked, maybe even to pick to win the conference. And you know what? It's going to be a good test. It's going to see where the Bobcats really are. I think we are going to show up. I think our offense is going to find its groove. I think the defense is going to continue to play well. And I think this is going to be a test for the coaches. You know, Choate always says this is a player's game. Well, you know what? I don't really feel like Choate really follows his own advice a lot of the time, but I think he's learning to. So we'll see what happens.
So what would you say that in quick summation, what are your keys to victory for this game?
We have to play to win. We can't be tight. We just got to go out there and trust what we have. And I think if the guys can do that, if the coaches will allow for that to happen, it's going to happen. It seems to me every time we lose this year, it just feels like it's more of a coaching thing than it is a player thing. So I just want them to go out and play to win the game. I mean, that's really all I have.
I like that. That's just such an all-encompassing thing that if that goes the way that you want it to, then the rest all falls in line. I'll get a little more granular than that. I will say that turnover battle, I think it's going to be huge for the Bobcats. I think UC Davis is like dead even on the year, but the Bobcats are +8, which is good for like 5th best in the country. We've only turned the ball over 8 times this year, which is 5th best in the country. We haven't even turned the ball over 10 times, which is amazing. It's an amazing stat. I think that's another crucial thing. And I think limiting big plays, whether that be running the ball, Gilliam, or throwing the ball with Mayer, we really just have to limit the big plays, keep things in front of us, which has kind of been our MO all year, but we just can't give up on that now. We got to continue to be aggressive on defense while kind of keeping things in front of us at the same time, keep getting after the quarterback. So those are just my my keys right there. I think it's really going to go a long ways to help the Bobcats come out with the victory and secure a playoff berth.
That will feel good. That would be like going into the Cat Grizz knowing regardless we're into the playoffs is always a great feeling.
No, it's much better to go in there playing for like a potential seed or maybe sharing the Big Sky Conference Championship with the playoff berth already secured than it is going there fighting for your playoff lives, as we found out, basically because the Grizz have had an outsider chance the last 3 years when they've and then we've ended it every single year. So you know that they're going to be out for revenge on that front. So it'd be nice to secure that and kind of take that extra layer of pressure off the game.
Oh, absolutely. All right, Thorny, I'm ready to move on to our closing segments. How about you?
I am ready. I guess the one question before we get there, we have one last golden koozie question that kind of just sums up what we've been talking about from the one and only Shane Driscoll. The Bobcats have been outscoring the opponents 87-21. Are we #winning big? What do you think?
Well, of course we are.
I mean, yeah, of course. Statistically, those are big numbers that we're winning big. And I had talked about on our Woe and Dread episode that, hey, man, their season's not over. We're being all doom and gloom here, but there's still a chance for us to come out and win big the rest of the year. And that's exactly what we've been doing. So we're still on track for the win big thing. I know it was kind of an easy thing to poke fun of after we lost a couple of games, but there's absolutely still time for the whole season to be a win big season and still secure a seed. So I say, yeah, #win big.
It's kind of funny to think about how far mentally we've come from that time. It felt so dire.
Those were some dark times.
After UND. And now we're riding a 2-game. It feels kind of like we've flipped the momentum, flipped the script, turned the boat around. And now we got a big test. And so I'm really looking forward to this game.
This is really the culmination of what we've been doing and seeing if we're really where we think we are after the last 2 games.
Jeff Choate always says we played our best ball in November. He said we were going to play our best ball in November. He was guaranteed it. So far we have. So
far, so good.
Yeah. And that's one thing I really always appreciate about Jeff Choate's team. We've always ended well.
Well, speaking of ending, let's move on to our next segment.
All right. Thorny, let's recap our bold predictions. Ryan, you said we were going to have 5 sacks last week. We only ended up with 2, one for Stirk and one for the boy, the centaur, Troy Anderson.
Yeah, I should have thought a little bit harder about that one, knowing that Jacob Knipp is more like Kevin Thompson and how fast he gets rid of the ball. But, so it's why it's a bold prediction.
It was good to see Stirk get one again. He hadn't had one a couple of games, and I was happy for him. Yeah, Jacob Knipp, man, finished with 220 yards, 6-year senior. Man, I mean, we've just been the gauntlet of these like prolific quarterbacks this year. I just feel like just in general, the Big Sky has like 6 to 7 senior quarterbacks that have just been around forever, and they're all really good. And it seems like the Cats play them all.
One real quick thing here about Nip. We definitely hit him and kept him backpedaling. He made some throws where he was anticipating getting hit. So that was good to see. We only ended up with 2 sacks, but we were definitely getting after him, and it affected his play for sure.
Yeah. My bold prediction was Rovig was going to pass for greater than 200 yards. And that was a really bad bold prediction, given the fact that I hadn't really thought through that we really don't need him to pass for over 200 yards. He only had 15 attempts of passing. He was 10 out of 15. And for 77 yards, I couldn't have been more wrong. We just dominated the ground game. We didn't need for him to pass more than 20 some, passes. It's just a bad bold prediction on my part.
At some point, you, me, Bobcat fans just have to take the shackles off our mind and realize quarterbacks don't need to throw for 150, 200 yards every game. It's what you think you need. But when you rush for 400 yards, it does not matter. It just straight doesn't matter. Because it's always like the opposite, right? UC Davis, the 6th best passing team in the nation, like the 90th best rushing team. Like you just can't expect to run for 300 and pass for 300. That's ridiculous.
No, I mean, Grizzlies are the same thing. Snead will pass for 400, and their Marcus Knight will get like maybe close to 100 or so, but it's never a balance.
I think the Grizz only had about 100 yards against Idaho, but they threw the ball over the place. So
yeah,
it's one or the other, and we would just like to see a better balance. But hey, we win games without throwing for 100 yards. It's crazy.
Thorny, do you have a new bold prediction?
You go first.
All right. I always say this one. I can't say I always say it because that's just a lie, but I've said it before. I feel like we need a pick six or a defensive touchdown. And that's going to be my bold prediction. We get a defensive touchdown.
That is bold.
Like a scoop and score or a pick six, a block punt that we take in, something.
It does seem that the Bobcats defense have been more swarming to the ball lately, and that's the kind of defense that does generate those kinds of points. So maybe we'll see it. All right, my bold prediction, we hold Alonzo Gilliam to under 80 yards.
Why 80?
I don't know, because 75 seemed too easy to choose that number.
Okay.
Because I think he'll end up with 77 yards. I don't know. Don't question my bold prediction. Don't question my really specific bold prediction. Okay. He'll be held under 82 yards exactly on 17 carries.
Yeah, I feel
sticking
like
with it.
Troy Anderson is going to be a spy on that guy probably, as well as Jake Meyer. I really like Troy Anderson on defense. I was just thinking about that today. I just love him so much more better on defense than I do offense. And I know maybe that's not a popular statement, but like you said early on in the podcast, he's just turning it on. It's just really been fun to watch.
I mean, he's part of the reason I think our defense has been clamping down. Not so much that he's making just like these stellar plays, which he's doing more and more of. Just there seems to be the whole team just plays better when he's on the field. I mean, that's exactly how it is on the offensive side of the ball. He's just such a leader that everyone just plays better when he's out there.
You know what's just a quick comment on the flip side of the ball. Offense doesn't have a player like that. We don't have that clear leader right now. The guy that just, oozes confidence. So
no, the closest guy would be Travis Johnson, and he hasn't been in for a few games.
Yeah. Okay, Thorny, you ready for some buy or sell?
Let's do it.
Okay, Thorny, buy or sell. MSU's offense is gimmicky.
Sell. I wouldn't say we're gimmicky. I'm saying we're trying a lot of different ways to move the ball, but we don't run like a whole lot of like gadget weird trick plays. So I'm selling it.
Okay. Sell. Number 2, Thorny. MSU's offense will hold steady at Davis.
If by hold steady, you mean we're going to score 40 some points? I will sell. I still think we'll hit about our season average, right around 30, maybe 35. So I would say we'll keep pace. So I guess I'll buy it.
Okay.
That's a weird question. That's a very vague, non-quantitative question.
Okay. So maybe I could have written that question a little bit better. What I really meant was we won't just fall off drastically. We'll just, continue on the path that we've seen the last 2 games.
Yes, I would buy that we will continue to be successful on offense.
Okay. All right. Number 3, Thorny. Buy or sell, I take a for sure playoff berth rather than a 50-50 shot at the Cat Grizz victory.
Well, that's an easy one. That's a buy. I will buy a playoff berth over a coin flip game against the Grizz.
All right, man. And number 4, my wife is tired of the R&R Catcast.
Buying it. Yeah, she's like, are you podcasting again tonight? Yeah. So yeah, buying it.
Okay. And the 5th question for buy or sell. I own more than 2 pairs of jeans.
Currently, I will sell it. I own 1 pair of jeans.
All right.
I own a couple other pairs of pants, but I own multiple pairs of jeans. I only wear 1 pair. That I have 1 pair, good pair. So I guess I'll sell it. I do own several pairs of jeans.
So you're going to sell, you own more than 2 pair of jeans? Or are you going to buy that?
I own more than 2 pairs of jeans.
Okay. All right, Thorny. You're off the hot seat, buddy.
Okay.
All right, fully. Buy or sell. MSU offense is gimmicky. I'm going to sell that. I think we're trying some new stuff. We're putting in some new wrinkles. I don't think we're gimmicky. We're just not the same offense we were even 4 weeks ago. So there it is. Number 2. Buy or sell. MSU's offense will hold steady at Davis. Thought a lot about this today, Thorny. I'm going to give it a optimistic buy. I feel like if we start feeling I'll preface this with this. If we start feeling a little bit of pressure at UC Davis, my fear is that we will try to go back to what we were doing prior Southern Utah.
Get back into a box.
Yeah, exactly. kind of tighten the reins. I feel I'm really concerned. That's like a big fear of mine these days is Jeff Choate overtaking games with his conservative play calling when he's not trusting his players. And that's kind of like what I said, the juxtaposition of him saying it's a football is a player's game. Yet I feel like he clutches things a little too tight. I feel, him hindering Matt Miller early on in the season. That's just my opinion. It might have been just Matt Miller's calls all along. But I feel like Jeff Choate's hand in the offense through his tenure in the 4 years has been largely negative. So, yeah, are they going to hold steady? Well, if it's going well, I think they do. If it gets tight, honestly, my gut tells me that we're going to, we'll go back to that quote unquote in the box offense. So until I'm proven wrong, I just don't feel like it's going to get a lot better. Or maybe I'm just being pessimistic. I probably am. Number 3, Barcel. I take a for sure playoff berth rather than a 50-50 shot at the Cat Grizz victory. Yeah, for sure. If you ask me which game I'd rather win right now, UC Davis or Cat Grizz, well, I'd probably pick Cat Grizz because no matter what, we would go to the playoffs. But right now, I just want to get into the playoffs, so I'm leaning towards UC Davis. Number 4, buy or sell. My wife is tired of the R&R. I don't think she is. I'm going to sell that. My wife thinks it's pretty cool, which I really like. And she listens. She's a subscriber. And the last one is the one I was thinking about today is buy or sell. I own more than 2 pairs of jeans. I'm going to sell that. I own exactly 2 pairs of jeans, just straight up Levi's. I think they're like the 501s. I don't know. There's the most basic Levi's you can buy. Thorny, I just wanted to ask you, what do you think is an acceptable amount of jeans a guy should own?
I think you need at least 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Now think about that. Think about that real quick. Like, are you really rotating 3 pairs of jeans?
Well, you need a work pair and you need 2 different colors to wear different outfits, man.
Well, I didn't even
2
think about it.
Good pairs of jeans, and then a pair to work, do your dirty work in.
So I have a pair. So I have a pair of Carhartts. I have a couple pair of Carhartts, but if I'm doing work outside, or just in the garage or whatnot, I'm wearing my Carhartts, my double fronts. But as far as jeans goes, I'm able to wear jeans on Fridays at my school and Thursdays. I could probably wear jeans any days, but I don't. I wear pants. But I don't know, man. It just feels like 3 pairs of jeans is too much for a guy to rotate. Now, if you didn't have a professional job, maybe having 3 pairs of jeans or 4 pairs of jeans would make more sense. But for most of us who have jobs, most of us are wearing some sort of khakis or pleated pants. I don't know what people wear, or Dockers or whatever, but
I don't know much about fashion, but I'm pretty sure pleated pants are going the way of the dinosaur there, buddy.
What? Am I the only one who wears pleats anywhere? Come on now.
I don't know. Look around next time you wear them.
I'm joking. I don't wear pleated pants. But yeah, exactly. That's my knowledge on the whole subject. But I think 2 pairs of jeans is about right.
This may be the hottest take the R&R Catcast has had yet.
Chime in, fellas and ladies. How many pairs of jeans is it acceptable as an adult?
Hit us up. Inquiring minds need to know.
Thorny, we had read a couple Golden Koozie questions. Which one are we going to choose?
I like the one from Cowgirl Cat. Do you agree?
I will. Woo! Cowgirl Cat, get at me. Get at Thorny. Send me your contact information, and I will send you that Golden Koozie. Congratulations.
You can hit us up on the board or email rrcatcast@gmail.com, and we'll get that out to you. Good job.
Well done.
Let's wrap this up. We are just about an hour. We hit this pretty well. We tried to keep it under an hour of this episode. We might have actually finally succeeded for once. Hit us up on Twitter, rrcatcast, where we do kind of hard-hitting questions, such as how many jeans should a grown man have in his wardrobe? Follow us on the Bobcat recurring threads, Bobcat Nation recurring thread. You can email us at rrcatcast@gmail.com if you have any questions or comments that you don't want on Twitter or the board. If you listen to us on any podcast platform, please rate us, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and tell your friends. We appreciate you guys listening to us. As always, go Cats.
Go Cats.